Brady's here. Hi, Pat.
Morning, guys. How you doing?
What's up, Pat?
Were you involved in the Rory McIlroy divorce?
I was not, but I didn't seem to hurt his golf game last weekend.
No, I think he shot about a 50 on Sunday to run away with it. PGA starts on Thursday of this week. Big headline in the Chicago Tribune: Loop restaurants are clawing their way back to health. The subtext here is, regardless of what this mayor does, the mayor did a little media tour earlier this week where he took softball interviews, with the exception of, it was Tamon Bradley was probably the only one that gave him tough questions.
No, it wasn't Tamon. It was Terrell.
Oh, that was Channel 9.
It was Terrell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Dalton has already picked a backup mayor, so they pretty much figured out where that one's going.
Yeah, that area down there is so sad. They've never had good leadership, and the leaders tend to just bankrupt the communities, and they're all poor. Not Dalton is bad, but Ford Heights and some of those communities down there, it's just been a terrible 30 years down there.
You know, Ben Bradley, pal of yours, as a matter of fact,
yes.
A friend of ours. Ben Bradley and Channel 9 have done some really good reporting on that story.
They were ahead of the FBI.
Yep. And Mayor Tiffany Henyard is under federal investigation. Can you explain why these federal investigations take so long before somebody gets cuffed and taken away?
Well, in a case like that where it's a financial documents case, you have to make sure that you have all the documents. So you do one round of subpoenas, get the documents, look at them, and then another round. So to put the case together, because you have to prove someone guilty with proof beyond a reasonable doubt, it just takes a long time to accumulate the evidence and interview the witnesses and then put the case together.
You know, but we don't have that kind of time to wait.
No, it does take...
we like everything wrapped up in an hour.
I know, it takes a long time. I remember I went from the state attorney's office where you charge somebody in 10 minutes to the federal system doing white collar, and it took years. I'm like, I go, wow, this sure takes a long time.
But it brings up a good point about recalling a mayor.
Can we do that? I'm not sure if it's allowed.
I don't know.
I know there was some talk about introducing that legislation down in Springfield, but he's polling at 12% right now, the last poll I saw. Wow. So, but it's bad for the city. But like Steve, I was cutting through the loop on the south end of the loop the other day. The loop seems to have really made a recovery, even in the last 18, 24 months. There's a lot more people down there.
Yeah.
I think all the people at Chase are coming in now. So it just seemed busier than it had
right.
During COVID.
Well, Jamie Dimon, how about, head of Chase, he said, if I would have told you in 2017, hey, you can work from home one day a week, you would have been thrilled.
Oh, my gosh.
Now it's like, hey, come on back to the office.
Yeah, and Jamie Dimon's not wrong, but he also hasn't helped the conversation in the big picture either. You know, Bridget Gaynor was on with us. Was it yesterday, the day before? And Bridget Gaynor brought up an interesting point about this mayor. Said he's delivered on several of the progressive things that he promised. But the point that she made and I made and we all made together was it doesn't mean it's made the city better.
Right.
Because the far left promises that he has made, including taking restaurants, middle-sized restaurants and smaller restaurants, and giving people who show up for work for a couple hours a week an equivalent day off. It's an exaggeration of the thing. But the paid time off thing and the guaranteed minimum wage, all of those things, it's a crippler for business.
Oh, completely.
Anybody that thinks that progressive agenda, either at the state level or national level, actually works is crazy. It just doesn't work.
Well, yeah.
We can't afford it. But
show me where it has.
It has not worked anywhere. Right. It's not working here. And hopefully, I think the pendulum's gone too far to let, particularly on the social stuff. And I think we saw Eileen Burke get elected.
Right.
And I think that's a sign that maybe we're getting, you don't have to be to either extreme, but man, this progressive, if you really look at what they stand for or what they talk about, it's some scary stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in all of the things that he brings up have merit as a discussion, but he's in a position where he has to make decisions as a leader, not just have discussions. And, jobs and economic opportunity and affordable housing for those that have less, 100%. Mm-hmm. And guess what? You're not doing that tomorrow. And you're not doing it next week, and you're not doing it next month. You can chip away at that, and you can make changes. But in the meantime, you need more cops on the street. You need something for these kids to do this summer. And you need to take action on these empty lots all around the city. You need to continue to deal with the migrant crisis. So I just thought the questioning was really weak when it went to the majority of the interviews that he faced.
Yeah, and I agree with that. But the reality is he has a horrible approval rating, and the chances right now him getting reelected are slim and none. And hopefully we can get somebody in there that actually is more to the center and doesn't believe that capitalism is bad.
Right.
And that we should just take tax dollars and give it away. It's never worked. It doesn't work here. To your point, though, it's amazing how much the city has recovered in spite of all the nonsense going on from the mayor's office.
Yeah, and there need to be consequences.
How about more police?
Absolutely.
How about the police aren't the enemies here? How about the police actually do a good job?
I want to know when this, on International Law Enforcement Day, when did this narrative shift?
Well, it started with the left. They
respect.
Respect.
Comply.
The lack of respect for law enforcement and the law. They turned it on its head.
Completely.
And they won an election doing that, which is even scarier. But that's just the power of the Chicago Teachers Union. But I'm so fed up with police bashing.
Completely.
I mean, you're very tight with the police. I know, Andrea.
Yeah.
It was the St. Jude March a couple weeks ago.
Oh, I was there too. It was beautiful.
Walking down Michigan
beautiful.
Avenue. These police officers are 27, 28, 30 years old,
Yes.
of every gender and color, just trying to keep us safe. And these people in leadership in the progressive side paint them as some kind of villains. It's just a horrible, horrible development, and it's got to stop.
It's awful. When someone calls 911 and the police show up and then, are accused of doing something wrong or, you shouldn't have been, it just blows my mind.
Yeah.
What about the victims in all of this?
Yeah, but the defendants
Nobody talks about the
victims in all of this. Eileen O'Neill Burke, is a champion for victims. That's why I think she, won her primary too.
Historically, that was the role of the prosecutor, was to represent the victims. And this system paradigm we have now with the progressives, it's, oh man, everything's bad.
Right.
It's payback for the old days. Police are bad, and defendants are the victims. It's somehow our fault that they stuck a gun in somebody's head and stole their car.
Well, and here's the thing.
Exactly. Well, it's your fault because you should have had, given up the car. Or
and
you
the
should have,
majority of people who are victimized in these gun crimes, in particular, are black folks and brown folks. So where's the mayor on that?
Mm-hmm. Well, because he's got the far extreme left agenda that he answered to when he gave his inauguration speech or swearing-in speech. I think it was a year ago today. When I watched it, I go, he did not do one thing to appeal to anybody beyond the people that elected him.
Right.
Not one thing reaching out to the middle, not thanking law enforcement, not thanking first responders.
Absolutely.
Not thanking the citizens of this city for enduring what we have for the last 3 years. It's all about how much money can I tax and how much money can I hand out.
Right.
It's just a system that doesn't work.
I don't know how the hotels in town are doing it, because the hotel tax, I told you, I stayed at the Intercon a month ago, and on a weeknight, the room was, I think, $425 for a regular hotel room for the night, and had over $100 in fees and taxes.
Mm-hmm.
So, you're a family, you come into town, you're not doing that.
Right.
But in spite of all the nonsense in the taxation and the 10%, you go buy some Garrett's popcorn, add 10% on for the sales tax. But with all that going on, the city is still really, if you come down here during the summer, it's jam-packed.
Oh, it's thriving.
Packed.
Thriving.
Yeah, well, here's the bulletin. They can't afford to come back. So you're one and done.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. But in spite of all the nonsense, it seems to have survived. That being said, it needs to be corrected, or it's not going to stay like this forever.
Absolutely.
But their goal is they want to wipe out Michigan Avenue and have this just be one great big socialist utopia where they control everything and they tell you what to do. But that's why, and I know you say it all the time, Steve, you got to get out and vote, particularly in this next mayoral election.
Yes.
Something's got to change.
We haven't heard anything from the governor. Springfield is, are the lights off in Springfield? Are they doing anything?
No, they're doing the budget. With Madigan not there anymore, it's been interesting. A lot more. Speaker Welch is much more open with how he deals with the Democrats who basically control the agenda. So there's a whole lot of legislation that needs to get passed if it's going to pass this week. But the big battle will be the budget, and it's $1 billion short right now. So they got to figure out whether they're going to impose some additional taxes or remove some tax credits to get that
great
budget balance. But one of the big taxes, which is I think heavily opposed, is we're talking about taxing sports betting
by 20, like raising it 25% or something, right, Pat?
Yeah, they're talking about up to 35%. I think if it happens, it'll be lower than that. But I think there's some significant opposition to that, even within the Democratic caucus.
Yeah. And Bally's isn't really performing as though they wanted it to.
No, the city casino idea didn't turn out to be a home run.
Well, that's the most highly taxed, my understanding, highly taxed business in the state is gaming. And they've always done that. Hopefully, they can balance the budget by making some cuts. The budget's gone from roughly, $38 billion to $51 billion now. Wow. So I think we spent enough. But the governor's going to get, and listen, I give the guy credit. He's been very effective at getting what he wants to get done. So he'll get it done, but that's the battle in Springfield now.
6:48 traffic, and we'll come back. You can tell us about your update on the Trump case. which I know you think is a dumb case and never should have seen the light of day in court, but where is it? And also, I'll bring up the question to you that I brought up to ABC last half hour, is what is Biden doing hitting China with tariffs when that was one of the main sticking points that he had on Trump, because China can hit back. On-air show meeting. Tom, we talked to Eileen O'Neill Burke during the trial of Pericles.
She was fantastic, yeah.
And she said she would come on. Where are we with that?
Still working with her people.
What are they saying?
They're saying that they would like to wait until we get closer to the next part of the election.
Yeah.
That's not happening. Okay, we'll have a continuation of this meeting after the show today. Please
great,
stop
though.
by the NBC Tower on the 6th floor if you'd like to join us.
Yes.
I ran into her down in Springfield, said the same thing.
She's great.
Yeah,
She's
wonderful.
so good. She's so positive, and I think she's going to just be a great
I think she's going to do a great job.
Me too.
6:55 in the remaining time here. A couple of quick questions. First off, Biden and China. Is this a campaign move with this tariffs thing? Something they had to do? And how does that not give away some campaign leverage against Trump?
I think I don't know exactly what's behind it, but it apparently is it's a good political move for him to just solidify his base, which likes this. But like you pointed out, the irony is the same thing Trump did. What conservatives are supposed to be against, what Reagan was against, these kind of tariffs, Biden did the same thing. So I think it just it diminishes that argument for him. But
And
politically,
it's going to cost
good for
Americans more money.
It's going to cost Americans. Tariffs are, in my opinion, always bad. But I think get tough on China sells right now, and Trump kind of taught everybody that if you talk tough on China, people don't seem to penalize you for doing things that are going to cost you more.
And again, I keep hammering on these communications teams and how bad they are, but Biden's team has been the worst. All we heard, and we heard it from the president, was, I'm not going to support arms for an invasion of Rafah. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. Well, what do we know this morning? Biden is sending $1 billion in weapons and ammunition to Israel.
Yeah, bad news in Israel and then even worse news in Ukraine. So it seems like both these wars are going bad. And you've got an economy which people think is bad, although I don't think it's that bad. And you've got two wars and campus unrest that pretty much signals the fact that you're going to lose the election in November.
Yeah.
I mean, the president, they have got to get their act together in regards to messaging or...
Well, we have Bernie Sanders making the comparison that this is Biden's Vietnam. You know what happened about this time with Lyndon Johnson in 1968? He decided not to run.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's the numbers are right now. If the election's held today, Trump wins. And I talked to some of my Democrat friends that are pretty high up in this stuff, and they are just of the belief, we've got it locked up. I go, I don't even think it's right now even going to be close.
No.
And the insanity of that in the upside-down world we live in is just hard to quantify. But there is a former president who is in a New York courtroom. He's sitting on trial in a case involving a former porn star who he clearly had a thing with, a thing being sex, and the whole thing exploded. And he wrote a check to try to keep her quiet before the election, and on and on and on. Based on the fundamentals of what you bring to trial, what you don't bring to trial, this was a non-starter. But the way the case has been presented and the way Trump has acted every single day, hasn't he put himself in jeopardy here?
No, I think he's actually helped himself politically. He gets
No, in jeopardy in regards to the jury finding him guilty.
They might find him guilty, but if they could find him guilty on the felony, but he's still not going to jail. And if they find him not guilty on the felony, but still on the misdemeanor, he's not going to jail. Politically, it's a win for him. This gins up his base. He's on television every day, 24/7. Biden had a big day yesterday. Did you see Biden anywhere? But the point is, this is the stupidest prosecution I've ever seen. To take this books and records violation, bookkeeping violation, and try to wing it into a felony based on some campaign finance violation on facts that the Justice Department already looked at and declined. And now we've got this 6-7 week trial where the defense has had a rough time. I think they, by their own mistakes on cross-examination, the facts really aren't in dispute, but I could see where the jury just says, it's a misdemeanor, not a felony.
Right.
The whole thing from beginning to end should never have been brought. And if this was not Donald Trump, he would not have been charged.
Right. What I find entertaining too is the gag order. I'm going to institute the gag order. Then Trump talks. Today I'm going to do it. Then Trump talks.
But,
Tomorrow
I mean,
I'm going to do it.
but
Doesn't it seem like a lot of back and forth with the gag order?
Yeah, I think the next time he does something, there's a little lockup cell behind, usually over by where the judge sits.
Okay.
And I think if he does it
the
he's probably
Cubs-
going to go on that little lockup.
In the cell.
Cubs had a jail at Wrigley, and the Bears have one at Soldier Field, I think.
I think I had some
where you can
friends that
hold a
spent
drunk.
some time in that jail. But
But, it keeps coming back to the same thing because you could say the same thing about the Biden gun charge, that he had a gun for 9 days and maybe he lied on the application. That doesn't go to trial unless the guy's name is Biden. It's not the equivalent of the president.
I don't agree. But
You don't agree? You're the one who told me that months ago.
No, the gun charge, the thing is they had a plea deal worked out, and the far right went crazy on it. Is a gun charge great? No. But this one clearly politically motivated. And listen, anybody that listens to the show knows I'm not a fan of the orange guy. But in this case, he's really – but the reality is politically it's benefiting him.
Yeah.
Okay, but we always talk about that, how it gins up the base, whether it's the right or the far left. Aren't they already ginned up? They're going to show up. When does the middle get ginned up? When are you folks in the middle going to get off your behinds and get involved in this?
Arguably, if the guy that represents the more of the middle is Biden, the sun gets blocked by Trump. All day yesterday, he was not on, and Trump was on all day. Yeah. It's the same thing that happened in 2016. Remember when CNN would literally cover an empty Trump podium waiting for him to come out?
Right. Right.
So they gave him, I think they figured during that campaign, they gave him $1 billion in earned media, free media.
CNN and a bad Hillary Clinton candidacy elected Donald Trump.
Yeah, but right now, Biden's numbers are so bad.
I don't disagree.
The only way he can win, in my opinion, is he's got to organize the coalition against Trump, and that's about it. Because these economic numbers, the narrative gets baked in the middle of summer, and it's pretty hard to change it in the fall. And it's not like he's going to be a great debater.
Oh God, no! I think his press people are keeping him away from the podium.
Yeah,
now anyway. But he is going to debate.
Look, it's going to come down to who's going to do the least damage to the Constitution. So who's going to do the least damage to life as it goes on. And we don't know what's going to happen between now and November. We just don't.
Nope. I'm saying today, though, if it were today, Trump wins.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for cheering us all up.
I'm just trying to, Steve,
I bring you in here for facts. I don't disagree with you.
Yeah,
I don't disagree with you. Yeah.
It's always good to see Andrea, though.
It's good to see you. I love when you come in, Pat.
I thought we had decided we were getting along because we played golf the other day.
My therapist said less time with mean people, but I did agree to play golf with them on Mother's Day because that's our tradition.
Oh, that was nice.
Yeah.
But these people that actually, the course was packed. Our theory on that is that nobody plays golf on Mother's Day because most people are actually better people than Steve and I.
Right.
So we're out there like, where are your families?
Yeah.
Right.
Please leave.
We need our course back.
Yeah. I mean, it was
Maybe that's my biggest gripe about people working from home. They're too close to the golf course.
Oh, my gosh. It was.
I mean, today, Wednesday, golf course is packed.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Good for golf, bad for us.
That's right.